Okay. Hello everyone. Welcome to my serious video. If you probably read the title, you know that I am criticizing Donald Trump in this video, in this little slideshow that I'm gonna be presenting for you guys, because this there's been a rise of pro-Trump rhetoric in the United States, I and this actually does worry me a lot, because this man, from based on the intel that I have researched on, is that he does not care about the United States' values, nor does he care about the people in it, their values. He really only cares about his own profit under capitalism. And so I'm going to go on a rant about on why you should not support Donald Trump. And for this channel, you obviously know that if you do watch my videos, you probably already know that, well, obviously not to do that, but if you could share this video to anyone that is posting pro-Trump rhetoric. Hopefully this will change people's minds. That's really all I'm hoping to do. Yeah, let's get started. Alright, so let's just start with the basics here. As you know, what most pro-Trump supporters would say is on his ideas of border security. Now, I am one to believe that we should secure our borders. However, the way how Trump wants to secure his borders, it's not. I mean, it's not going to work, because the reason why the illegal immigrants are crossing into the borders anyways is because of because of visas. Most illegal immigrants actually come through overstayed visas. Not only that, all right. So here's an actual source. Well, an actual percentage onto the illegal immigration, how the illegal immigrants come through. They come through overstayed visas. 50% of illegal immigrants come through overstayed visas. 40% come through 40% come through planes. Yeah, 40% of illegal immigrants actually come through planes, and 10%. Only 10% of those illegal immigrants actually cross through the border, and most of them cross through the border in different ways. They either cross through mountains and tunnels. You can even see this in Arizona, where I used to live in my town, where I lived right next to the Mexican border. Like in Douglas, Arizona, they discovered a tunnel that cartel members used to use from Acapulco to Douglas, Arizona, and they did this for a while until they finally abandoned it, because they knew they were going to get caught, and they were right. They got caught. Well, the tunnel got caught, not them. So that's another thing. Not only that, not only do how those illegal immigrants come in, building a wall won't stop that, because they already come in through ways that that wall won't even stop in the first place. There's even articles from newspapers that even show on how the wall won't work, considering on how illegal immigrants come in. Not only that, when we do try to implement these strong border security ideas, overstayed visa percentage actually goes up. You can even see this by the image I'm showing now. Based on what Trump's strong border security that's been happening near the borders, overstayed visa crossings have actually gone up in 2019. And this article was posted in January 16, 2019. So yes, this idea of that we need strong regulation on the border, I don't disagree on that. We should not allow illegal immigrants come in, undocumented immigrants come into the United States. However, his way of stopping them is completely illegitimate, and and not only that, it's very bad. But not, however, and also not only that, there's another reason why they are crossing into the United States. I mean, the reason why those illegal immigrants are even crossing into the United States at all is because of the United States imperialism in the Cold War in Latin America, to stop communism, to justify it by stopping communism. If it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for such high imperialism into Latin America, we probably wouldn't even have a fucking immigration problem in the United States, an illegal immigration problem, of course. So that's if it wasn't for the United States getting involved in Nicaragua, Chile, Colombia, Honduras, El Salvador, if it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for starting proxy wars all over the fucking globe, not the globe, but Latin America especially, since we're talking about illegal immigration, we probably wouldn't even have an illegal immigration problem in the first place if it wasn't for U.S. imperialism. You can even see this. You can even see this on what happened in Nicaragua recently, because of U.S. involvement. U.S. Involvement into the politics. More citizens have actually left the country because of U.S. involvement into that country, so that way they can go there and have a decent life. But they were denied to do so because they did not have because here's the thing, the way to get visas now at least they've actually upgraded, and you actually do have to pay some money to get visas. This is actually really bad because because of Trump's strong regulation on the border, trying to add payment to cross over to the border. It's unethical, and it's destroying their ways to actually seek salvation. Not only that, they wouldn't probably even seek salvation or home or just a decent way of life if it wasn't for United States imperialism into the United States. So this is why on his foreign policy is actually like really bad as well, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. I'm talking about basically his pure immigration. So based on that, on his imperialist ways into Latin America and into Latin America, and his ways to solve that illegal immigration problem, he it doesn't help. All it really does is give the illusion of it helping. I mean, because in Arizona, where I used to live, they already have like an iron bar wall built, but that still did not stop anyone. That still doesn't stop anyone. And Trump's way is to build a concrete wall, but even that still won't stop anyone because they're not going through the bars. Well, they're not going through the bars. They're going under the wall. They're going under the iron bar wall, or they're climbing it through mountain trenches. They're either going under it or they're climbing through mountains. The problem with the U.S. and Mexican border is that most of it is actually mountain terrain, and in Texas, specifically between Texas and Mexico, there's a huge ass river dividing the states. There's a huge ass river. So my question is, are you trying to build a wall onto that river? That's one thing. That's one thing I don't understand, is that are you trying to build a wall into that river, that giant ass river, between Texas and Mexico? Because that won't really stop anyone. That won't stop anyone. In fact, that would, because I mean, I know you're not. I know people are not trying to build the wall under, like, on the river, but if you're trying to stop illegal immigration, then the best way to do it is you have to look at the root of the source onto why they're crossing into the United States in the first place, and most of that is because of U.S. imperialism, and because of U.S. imperialism is the cartels. So we have to find the source onto whether or not if the cartels can be stopped, and yes, they can actually. If Mexico and the rest of Latin America were to legalize their marijuana, if they were to legalize marijuana, that will actually put the cartels out of business, because the reason why is because marijuana is their income. Marijuana, illegal marijuana, selling marijuana privately, it's that's their income. So if we were to regulate that and to give medical marijuana to people in Latin America, or just to give marijuana by government standard, that will put out business. That will take out business into the cartels. It's a way of fighting fire with fire. But the thing is, and that fighting fire with fire it's usually it's not a good term, but for this, in the case of putting people out of business, it's a good way to put people out of business, because you're selling your own you're selling your own you're selling your own products, except for to take out an enemy, and by that it will put them out of business, and the cartels will immediately lose power. They'll drain their income, and it will fail. But the reason why they don't do this is because of corporate profit, capitalist profit, etc. And you can see this happening with the drug wars, when Nixon implemented the drug wars into Latin America in order to stop it. It wasn't really for the sake of stopping drugs coming into the United States. He really did it for profit. I mean, even when he did try to do it, it was a massive failure. It was a huge, massive failure, and only made crime worse for Mexico, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador, etc. All the rest of Latin America. In fact, Panama as well, especially Panama. They were the ones that faced the worst when it came to the U.S. to the war on drugs by the U.S. So this is why this right-wing idea of trying to stop of illegal immigration is really bad. We have to look at the root onto why they're crossing into the United States in the first place, and the reason for that is because of the cartels. So if you really want to stop illegal immigration, tell the cartels. I mean, tell the Latin American government to legalize their marijuana, so that way it can drain the cartel's income, and it'll put them out of business, and so that way those people in the United States that are trying to have a better life and crossing into the borders in the first place illegally because of those problems can just not come into the United States at all, because there wouldn't be those problems in the first place if they were to do that, instead of focusing on capitalist profit and corporate profit as well. Another thing we need to consider Trump is his economics. The reason why Trump, I mean, now a lot of Trump supporters, a lot of you Trump supporters, yes, you Trump supporters are, I know you guys are watching. A lot of Trump supporters, you guys claim to that Trump has actually done a lot for the American working class. The truth is, he actually has not. In fact, he's denied a lot of things for basic needs for anyone. He's denied a lot of things for basic needs for anyone in the United States. Not only in the United States, but also outside the United States as well. Because you can even see on what happened in Kurdistan or northern Syria after what happened when Turkey invaded northern Syria. You can even see this in northern Syria when Trump was in a call with the Turkish president, and the Turkish president told him to withdraw troops from the northern border, and so Trump listened, and he took out troops for the protection of northern Syria for the sake of taking them out. Even though Kurdistan and the Kurds were one of the core reasons why ISIS is supposedly defeated, quote unquote. They were one of the core reasons why they were defeated, and in quote unquote, of course. And now those ISIS terrorists are now breaking out of prison because of the U.S. in not withdrawing troops from from Kurdistan. And Trump is saying that he saved lots of lives by doing this. He did the opposite. He killed many people. Now Turkey is committing genocide into Kurdistan, and almost everyone is suffering because of it. Why? Because he actually got a lot of profit for it. He doesn't. The reason why is because he didn't have to deal with American military. He didn't have to deal with military involvement that would cost money. That would cost money, and so that way he can do this by getting oil fields into Syria. That's ultimately what the United States has been about by using imperialism and then making deals with other imperialist countries. That's entirely what capitalism is, and it's horrible. It's honestly horrible on this thing on this cycle, this vicious cycle that needs to end, and they still do it anyways for the sake of profit and for the sake of their own corporate identity, and it's quite humiliating. Not only that, they also deny basic things such as water. You expect things such as water to be a need a need that should be given for a cheap price under capitalism, correct? Wrong. In fact, more people all over the world, including the United States as well, has actually been denied the basic needs of water. Sorry for that long pause. I had to gulp. Not only that, the prices for water in the United States has actually gone up because of U.S. tariffs, U.S. strict trade tariffs into with foreign countries such as Mexico. You can even see this on what happened because of the Mexico trade tariff. Basically trying to scare Mexico, I guess. The stock market actually crashed by 5%. Well, not really. The stock market actually went down by 5% because of the trade tariffs into Mexico by the U.S. It was a key value for Trump to gain profit out of this, but because of that, he caused the stock market to lose 5% of its income and its trade deals. Not only that, you can see this as a success for leftists because leftists hate the stock market. But remember this, okay? At least leftist socialists. I'm not sure about leftists in the United States. They shouldn't even be considered leftists, anyways. But you have to keep this in mind that for all of you leftists that are watching this video, which this is targeted towards right-wingers, you do have to realize that this is capitalist. This is a capitalist trying to destroy the stock market. Since it's a capitalist trying to destroy the stock market, he's got personal gain, corporate gain, private gain to get from this, and probably the reason why he did it. So since by realizing this, he actually loosened the trade tariffs. I'll give him that. But it wouldn't have happened anyway. So the stock market wouldn't have gone down by 5% if it wasn't for that rash decision, for such rash economic diplomacy for that to happen. Not only that, the United States is more than able to give and provide basic needs towards the ones that need it most, but yet they don't do it anyways. Now, I know the reason why they have to do this. Oh, we have to protect our own needs. But you have to realize that the reason why they have less basic needs such as water is because of U.S. imperialism. Don't you think that you have to justify that by actually giving out basic needs towards other countries? And you can even see this happening in the third world. You can even, you can even see this as well as considering healthcare as well. If you're gonna kill people in the third world, can you at least save them? Wrong. Even in this picture right here, it even says that more and more people are actually dying because of because they are denied basic needs such as medicine into the third world because they don't have the materials to do so. You have to wonder onto the reason why this is happening into the third world. This isn't happening for no reason. This isn't happening because they choose to do this, like right wingers might make you think. They don't choose to die. They don't fucking choose to die. They don't. Do you honestly think they want to die? The reason. Do you honestly think they want to die? They want to live such a harsh life to the point where they are starved, and to the point they're starved and dehydrated and denied basic needs such as medicine to live. You honestly think that this is they choose this? They don't choose this. The reason why this is happening is because of U.S. imperialism, because of U.S. involvement, because of such harsh diplomacy, such imperialist diplomacy by the United States in general, not even by Trump, but just by the United States. But Trump is the one that made it worse. Trump is the one that made it worse, especially for countries in the third world. And the reason why is because of this, is because he was so busy focusing on this trade war with China. And that's the thing with a lot of Trump supporters try to justify. They try to justify the trade war between China. But the thing is, why the fuck would you even get in a trade war with China in the first place? The reason why they are really in those trades is because they are tired of privatization, getting profit out of, exploited out of by the first world. Now, I'm not going to say that China is I'm not saying that China is socialist. God no, it fucking isn't. And for all of you for all of you quote unquote leftists that are watching this video and think that China is socialist, you are wrong. Please no, just stop. Anyways, China. Now this by saying this, I'm not trying to say that China is socialist. They're not. They are absolutely not. But they are still getting exploited out of by capitalist tendencies. So they do anything they can for more capitalist tendencies into the United States. So I mean they fight capitalist tendencies in the United States by implementing capitalist tendencies on their own. So they actually increase privatization for their own markets, for their own means, for their own private production, so that way they can get the U.S. off their back. And now it's a capitalist versus capitalist war going on in between the United States and China. And this wouldn't even have happened if the United States has not even put companies and have such harsh privatization of the means of production into the United States that it goes as far as to not even being into the United States, but as well as going outside of the United States into China for the United States and the higher classes, and for the higher class in the United States profit. Not only that, there's such a high 12.8% of American citizens are in poverty, despite the United States being the richest country in the world. 12.8% are still in poverty, and they still can't even get out of poverty either. I mean, yes, poverty has actually gone down in recent years, but the reason why because of that is not because of privatization. The reason why because of it is because they got out of poverty is because of increase of jobs. But the thing is, you can't just increase jobs and expect that to do anything. You have to make sure those jobs are paying a decent price. And despite the poverty rate actually going down recently, when you compare year-wise, when you compare it between the poverty rate in August to now, you can see the poverty rate actually going up again. Because the reason why is because of jobs being made that allows less eligibilities, but because of that there's still privatization. There the fact that there is more jobs and those jobs are private, the employer is still controlling the worker's wage. They're still controlling the worker's wage in their own means of production, instead of the worker himself or herself or themselves um, owning their own means of production, owning their own wage, which they should, but they don't because of corporate profit and the employer's profit as well. And this is such a harsh decision to make because they know that this is actually making a very negative effect into the United States population and even the world entirely. But they still do it anyways for the sake of profit, for the sake of their own ideas, and it's even hard to even get a basic need such as water, like I mentioned, or medicine, both in the third world and into the first world, like the United States. It's such a hard time to get a basic need because of such privatization in the means of production. It makes it harder for the worker to get a decent wage for him to be for the worker to be able to get basic needs. And that, in my opinion, is when you should realize that something is going on and something is wrong. It's not even fair at this point. It's only fair to the ones that do have that money, to the ones that are the higher class. So that's why if you are a right winger and you consider yourself working class or middle class or even lower class, then do not, because of this tendency, because of this capitalist tendency, do not support such a system or such economics that oppress you from basic needs such as fucking water, for a president that wants to build a wall that doesn't even fucking do anything, and rather privatize his own luxury and Trump Tower than actually help the country. It's better if you actually support a president that actually does care about the working people, such as Jeff Meckler or Huey Hawkins, from Solidarity and Socialist Party USA. It's best if you support those people than anyone from both the Democrats and the Republicans, because they're both unintelligent. Let's be honest, they're both unintelligent. So it's best if you do support the people that actually do care about your needs and do care about your basic necessities, instead of being denied as water. And if you are not personally being denied of water, and you're not personally being denied or being denied of such a need such as medicine or water, such basic needs to be able to live, if you're not being denied by it, you probably will soon, if Trump does keep on going down to the rate of focusing on his own market, focusing on his own privatization for his candidacy, instead of actually helping out for the United States. Yes, the 2020 elections is up. In fact, that's the reason why I am making this video in the first place. But you should still realize, to the point that, hey, maybe this guy is out for himself. This guy is making more economic decisions usually for his own profit and the higher classes. You should realize that, and to the reason why, it's completely bogus it's completely bogus. It's a bogus reason to support this person for such economics and such economic tendencies, etc. All it does is just put more people in poverty, if anything. Because there is more privatization in the means of production, it proves that the poverty rate is actually going up, especially in recent times by months. Alright, so third one I want to talk about is gun rights. Now, I'm not going to personally talk about this. I'm going to let this clip talk about the gun rights, and I'll leave the original video down in the description. Please give this person profit. Please give this person. Please give this channel lots of love, lots of support, because he is the one that did very much research on it, and I just watched his video. So yes, please watch his video with sources. Please and thank you.
The idea of gun regulation isn't automatically infringing on your Second Amendment rights. Of every single amendment, the second one is the only one with regulated in the text. The original draft mentioned well-regulated militias in the middle, but they decided to make the sentence structure more awkward in order to mention well-regulated militias as soon as possible. The notion that individual gun ownership is a right isn't in the Constitution, and it's actually a relatively new idea as a legal concept. As of 1888, when law review articles started being indexed, every single one agreed that the Second Amendment doesn't guarantee the individual right to own a gun. This was the consensus for more than 2 centuries after the Constitution was written. Before then, the Federalist Papers, notes on the Constitutional Convention, they all debate the idea and logistics of militias. For example, how often militias, which are necessary for the security of a free state, should meet, and so on. But they don't mention individual rights to own a gun. But certain quotes can be taken out of context, as noted in the Pulitzer Prize-winning book Original Meanings by historian Jack Rakove. For example, Patrick Henry once said, "The great object is that every man be armed." Ah! Except the rest of the quote is, "At a very great cost, we shall be doubly armed," because he was talking about fiscal responsibility and complaining about both the federal and state government paying to arm the militias. This idea of individual gun ownership especially took hold in the 1970s, when the NRA, which originally only promoted gun safety and training and regulation, was taken over basically in the dark of night and started focusing the group on lobbying Congress and promoting gun sales and pushing for individual gun rights. They post videos about how people are taking away your guns so gun sales go up, all because the NRA started erasing key parts of the Second Amendment they claim to defend. In the NRA's headquarters lobby, where they display the Second Amendment, or no, sorry, just the last part. They skipped the first words. One of them is regulated.
Now, fourth and last, I want to consider his foreign policy as well. Now, the thing is with Trump's foreign policy is that a lot of Trump supporters will fucking suck dick for this kind of notion, and they will, and a lot of Trump supporters will, and just right wingers in general, will just say that Trump does have such good foreign policy and very nice ideas for much nice ideas for the United States for getting involved into this into foreign politics and foreign interventions as well. The truth is this may prevent the United States, but the thing is, it benefits the United States' higher class, not the working class. You can even see this on the reason why there is such high poverty rates growing into the United States now recently is because of more foreign interventions and etc. And all, as well as, how are you going to consider as Trump has a good foreign policy when he's threatened to destroy NATO multiple times? Now, as leftists, we might say that NATO is best destroyed because it's a capitalist organization. I don't like NATO either. It's a capitalist organization that was originally built to made profit out of, and it was made for the Soviet for those countries not to it's for those countries to band together and just say, hey, fuck you, USSR. I'm gonna make profit out of your expense and etc. That's really the reason why NATO was built. Built out of neoliberalism and the ideas of getting profit out of after such harsh after harsh times that has happened. It was the idea of doing that made NATO in the first place. I don't disagree that NATO is just a horrible fucking organization that should be destroyed. However, the reason why Trump did threaten to destroy NATO multiple times was because of most NATO countries, most NATO members don't really pay enough economic payments for NATO for those countries to be given protection. Now, here's my criticism of NATO in the first place. Why the fuck are you gonna try and make other countries spend their all entirely most of their economy for protection, even though they need that money for basic needs for their people? You're gonna still make them pay for a lot of money for protection. Yes, you're paying for protection, but the thing is that should be a basic need, especially if NATO is created to get profit out of those countries, and etc. And the reason why and even Obama criticized about this, even Barack Obama criticized that they can't even pay up. But the thing is, it's easy for the United States to say that because it's the richest country in the world, so they can pay as much as they want because they get that money off of exploiting the poor in both their own country and outside of their country. So it's easy for the United States to say that it's easy for the United States to say that they should pay up. But the thing is, with those other countries that are a part of NATO, they can't really pay up because of economic debt that has been happening, especially with the EU. Especially most NATO countries are a part of the EU. And so the thing with such high increasing debt into the EU, so you're going to deny them a basic protection. Now, again, this is not really protection. It's more of like foreign interventions, but it's like more of military to commit imperialism, so that way they can get profit out of, and as long as that profit is given to the United States. So yeah, the thing that's how basically NATO works in a leftist mind. But for you right wingers, you probably see it as it's protecting sovereign countries. But since the USSR is gone, there's probably no need of having NATO, and you would be kind of right, because NATO was completely made to protect, quote unquote, countries from the USSR. So you would be right about that in your definition. However, the thing is with NATO now, since how Russia is, especially with Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Belarus, Ukraine, etc. Since Russia is still pushing their borders more and more eastward, because of that. So because of such imperialism, if you are willing to actually protect people in general, and if you really want to prove that Trump, if you really want proof that Trump is not like sucking off Putin or etc., then you expect Trump to have less regulations onto NATO, and giving them basic needs of protection, quote unquote, etc. You expect that, but he doesn't. So why not? The reason why is because they can actually get profit out of this, both Trump and Putin. Putin and Trump can actually get profit out of this. So I wouldn't say that Trump is sucking off Putin for this. They're both sucking each other off. They're both 69ing each other in figurative language. But yeah. So they are both getting profit out of Trump. Making the prices go higher for punishment or etc., and giving less protection to countries, because he gets profit and so does Putin out of it, because he gets profit out of it, so he can just make those simple decisions while he makes more decisions for his own privatization of his market. Not only that, that's another thing that I got into last time with this trade war that we're having with China. Why the fuck is the reason why the trade war with China. This is the thing. You guys call yourselves nationalists, and your definition of nationalism is completely bogus. I mean, you're trying to. I mean, the whole point of nationalism is actually the definition of nationalism is the belief of that a nationality is better than another nationality. But for you right wingers, I do believe that nationalism is patriotism and that it's support for your country. So why is it that we have gone so and that nationalism is where a country keeps to their borders and keeps to themselves? So why do you guys call yourself a nationalist and yet support Trump? Because even though he has made more foreign interventions than probably any other president in modern history, modern history, not like in history, in U.S. history, but in modern history, in recent times. So how come is that? How come he makes more foreign interventions than almost any other president in modern times? Yet you guys still call yourselves nationalists. It makes no sense. It contradicts your whole entire logic. It's really bad for your belief to say that you're nationalist, and yet you say that for most right wingers to say that you're nationalists and support Trump, yet not really commit foreign interventions, commit imperialism into other countries as well. And not only that, consider the foreign policy. How come Iran is up our ass and threatening to declare war on us, which is probably going to happen any second now, considering what Trump's foreign policy. How did that happen? You know, those tensions could have easily went away if Trump has just said, you know what, we shouldn't fuck around with this. This is, I mean, I'm not trying to defend Iran. Iran is a theocratic state, and it's absolutely horrible. It's a capitalist theocratic state, and it's worse than the United States. It's worse than capitalist democracy, honestly. But the thing is, if you really are protecting the U.S. people, then just don't. If you really are nationalists, then don't fucking go. Then don't threaten war to Iran, because that will just make things worse. And especially considering Iran and their terrain, it'll just make things worse for the U.S. economy and make things worse for the U.S. military. So honestly, if you are really onto your nationalist belief, or quote unquote nationalist, then you shouldn't really be fond of to have Iran declare war on us, or have the United States declare war on Iran, because that will just make things worse. And so I am making this video for you guys to understand onto the reason why Trump is horrible and why you shouldn't vote him as a president. For right wingers, obviously for us leftists, we already know that in the United States, but for right wingers and Democrats and Republicans, capitalism is entirely bureaucratic, and it's for the higher class. You can even see this happening into the United States based on the reasons I did say previously, as well as the reasons I said about the third world and Latin America as well. So you can see onto the reasons why we are more divided by classes, because of free market and because of privatization of such means of production. This is one thing I will agree with the right wingers when they do try and have an argument with Democrats or liberals. They say that we are more divided by class and by identity. They are correct. However, their reasoning to solve it, or the reason they do pull it up, is completely false, and it shouldn't even be considered as leftist at all. It shouldn't even be considered serious. But yeah, yeah. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, then please like the video, share it to other communities that you feel should be shared to. And yeah, I'm going to leave some links, my sources down in the description, as well as some YouTubers that I did get some of these sources from, and they have great opinions onto the topics I pulled up as well. So please check them out. They are really awesome. They're really awesome content creators. Anyways, yes, Leftist Links is signing off.